What's up, guys? We're coming up on 1 year of ownership of the RX7, and I kind of want to go through what it was like in this year of ownership and debunk some of is the RX7 FD the most unreliable car in the world? I want to tell you why I don't think it is, and come on this journey with us. I say this all the time, the RX7 FD is a driver's car. It's an enthusiast car. It's somebody that can work on a car's car. Meaning, if you are at the point where you have to bring it to the shop every time something happens, it has a little hiccup, this or that, it's probably not the car for you. But if you can open the hood, realize, oh, hey, that silicone line is off. You know, that's supposed to be here. Let's pop that back on. And we'd right back on the road. If not, you would have sent it to a shop. It would have sat in the shop for a week until a week is on a good day. Sat in the shop for 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Then they got to work on it, realized it was a vacuum line. They put it back on. You're back with it for a day. You drive it again, something else happens, and you go through the cycle, and you're spending money and you're not having your car. But if you can work on it, this is one of the best cars I've ever driven in my entire life. And on top of that, it's nowhere near as unreliable as everybody says. Now that I've said that, this thing's probably gonna fuck off. But I had to say it because this thing is truly an incredible vehicle and somebody's got to say it. Hold on, there's a cop coming. Give me a second. See if this guy's going to be mad. And that cop just came through and just told us my car was slower. It probably is. All right, back to it. In my time with the vehicle, I had a water pump gasket go. I went to a car show one day, pulled it out. It's kind of dumping coolant. At this moment, I thought I cracked an iron and I thought that all was over. The biggest thing with rotaries is don't overheat them. Don't let your irons crack, because then you have to spend $14,000 on a brand new block, and that's just something that nobody wants to do. If you have to replace seals, pull the motor and do it yourself. Parts are like $1,000. It's really not that bad. All said and done, there's not a ton of moving parts with a rotary. There's really not much going on there. It has its things. It goes through oil because it's meant to. It dumps extra oil into the combustion chamber so that it lubricates the outside of the apex seals and prolongs the life of the rotary. So you have to keep up with that. Put more oil in it. Put conventional oil in it. Synthetic oil doesn't burn. This vehicle is meant to burn oil. It just comes down to the little things. Again, such a weird thing, but what it comes down to is such a beautiful thing. It looks great, it drives great. And most of all, this year you have the Toyota Supra. You know, obvious competitor. The Supra obviously can make a ton more power. These cars can make a bunch of power, but not nearly as reliably. You know, I have a JZ. I love both. But when it comes to the Supra, you drive that car, everyone and their mother is expecting that thing to make 1,000 horsepower. You drive this, they're just stoked it's on the road. They're just like, hey, that thing drives. Woo! And that's the next thing. People love it, and that's what's wonderful about it.
That's a Hemi, right?
But let's jump in and just go through some of the quirks and some of the little things you'll expect with an FD. So first things first, as we come up on the door, biggest thing is these handles like to pop off. I'll show you how. Come to this side. I love my fiance, incredible amounts, but that happens. And when that happens, you have to replace things. It's a 90s JDM vehicle. The money went elsewhere. So if you can expect to just put some money in the vehicle, put some money in some spots that maybe there wasn't to start with. That's what owning this vehicle is about. So let's jump on the inside. This door thankfully still works. So I come in, you know, I got faded carpets. It was a Florida car. That's okay. Next year, we're gonna go through some of the big things. Obviously, it's silver in here. It's blue on the outside. It's wrapped. We're gonna paint it. We're gonna do a bunch of stuff. But right now, I'm just enjoying it. And I'm having probably some of the most fun in RX-7 ever. Now, closing the doors, you gotta slam it. That's just part of it. It won't close otherwise. And I think in that process of slamming it, I might have just cracked some plastic somewhere. That's also part of owning an RX-7. It's kind of awesome. Not really. But realistically, I do pretty much roll this window down every time so that when I do slam it, I am not grabbing this plastic nice piece in here. Going through it, next thing, I'm a short guy. I'm 5'8". My fiance would tell me 5'7", but I'm 5'8", and I'm comfortable in this vehicle. But anybody really over the size of 6 foot is just really kind of not the car for them. Your head starts to hit the ceiling. You need, at that point, a sunroof car. So yeah, mindful of that. Going through it next, my odometer was broken. It didn't actually show the odo miles. Another thing that happens, and it all boils down to, this is a 30-year-old car. Sure, do some cars hold up a little bit more over 30 years? Yeah. Did a starter go on me? Yeah. It's a 30-year-old starter. It was an OEM starter. That's just things you have to expect. You're owning a 30-year-old car. So going back to it, you just have to be prepared for those things. Next thing, talking about size and space. Don't expect much of it. Going to the back, it's got a little bit of room. You can put some stuff in here. I came back down from New York with my fiance. We fit all of our bags and a couple of extra parts, and I had this thing all the way up and barely closed the hatch, but it did it. So can you make it work? All day. Next thing, I have a JBL speaker in there at all times right now to listen to music because I can't quite get the speakers working. That's another project that I am working on. Again, this is an enthusiast vehicle. I right now have to move the battery to the trunk. I'm waiting to get the JP3 kit so I can hide it behind this nice little panel here. Then I can wire in my amp, and then I can wire the speakers, the aftermarket speakers I put in the doors. Can't currently wire them up because the factory system was a Bose system with 4 wires each, highs and lows. If I try to pin one of those wires to the actual new speakers, I either get a high or a low, and it is not good. So back to, you gotta know how to work on a car. So again, slamming things. Let's go to the engine bay. Now it's not very pretty, so don't make fun. My setup, it is a pretty simple setup. It is a 13B with upgraded Pettit Racing twin turbos. It is a street ported John. It is factory 5-speed transmission. You can see a lot of the stuff is missing. It does have an ETS front mount on it, Koyo N-Flow radiator. The N-Flow radiator is actually meant for a top mount or V-mounted setup. So my cooling is trash. It's about as bad as it gets. If it's warm, it is getting hot. So I haven't been driving it much more than cruising. So I'm very excited to get rid of this ETS front mount just because my setup is meant for a V-mount. So I'm very excited to get rid of this front mount, and I'm gonna be putting in a Pettit Racing top mount intercooler and just going through those things. Moving the battery to the trunk like I told you, and wiring those speakers and just getting it ready for that next step. And that next step is pulling the motor, shaving the bay, going through everything, painting the car, painting the bay. I'm sending the motor to Pettit Racing back in Florida to go over the motor because this thing's been running for 12 years like this and about 60,000 miles. It's pretty amazing for a rotary. Sure, have people gotten more? Yeah. But this thing is not taking easy miles. It's been a bunch of trips from Massachusetts to New York for Sevens Day, Rhode Island to here, and I've been driving the shit out of it for the time that I've had it, and really just enjoying it every step of the way. And again, comes back down to everywhere you go, people love this thing. It's just a people's car. People are just excited to see it. Thank you. Again, but going through it again, just old car things. I've had alternator clips come off and the thing die while I'm driving just because the alternator wire popped out. I went to the store and actually found that it was a part that shared amongst a ton of other vehicles. It was a Nissan Altima clip. Easy. So I threw that back in. Car's been running strong. It's just small things you have to keep up with. They are awesome vehicles. You have to make sure that it's topped off on coolant. You have to make sure that it's topped off on oil, and you just gotta keep up with it. But all in all, it is an amazing vehicle with great curves, great lines, awesome motor. I wouldn't put any other motor in it. I thought I was a purist, or I didn't think I was a purist rather, and said, hey, I'd put whatever in it. The rotary is the best sounding, feeling, and performing thing it's just special. It's unique and it's awesome. I love the way the sequential turbos work, but I will be going to the true twin upgrade where they come on at the same time, just to get rid of the rat's nest. That's the biggest thing, is just I don't want to have to deal with the annoyance of all these lines. There is about 50 lines under this intake manifold that just, there's a lot to go wrong there. They're all silicone in my case, so I don't have to worry about much, but it's a peace of mind thing. I just want to get it gone when I pull the motor. Now that we've done some talking, I'm sure you guys will have some questions. You can leave them in the comments below, but let's listen to this thing. Let's drive it a little bit and give you the good stuff. All right, guys, you got to hear my testimony. You got to see some cool stuff. You got to hear this thing. Now it's your turn. Let me know if there's anything you want to know about. I'm sure there's things in this process that I didn't talk about, that I forgot about, and that's all part of the process. I did forget about talking about my taillights coming on and off intermittently, but again, if I didn't want the pursuit of perfection, I wouldn't have bought a project. And that's what these cars are. They're fun projects, and they make such great noises, and they handle so well. So yeah, let me know what you think in the comments. If there's any questions that you have about ownership of these vehicles, and I'll answer them all. Had this idea to do this video off of a Gears and Gasoline video. They drove their cars around the country and talked about how, you know, they would never do it again. And I've done it, and I do it over and over again. Call me crazy, but this, for me, is one of my favorite vehicles. I've driven tons of different Porsches, GTRs, and all these kind of things, but something about the 300 horsepower rotary in this awesome package. It's not a lot going on, there's not a lot to it, and it's just fun. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.